to introduce our next esteemed speaker. Our next speaker has had a very adventurous life that in some cases might have placed him or maybe described in jeopardy. And so let me explain why. After auditioning as host of the proposed TV game show called Jeopardy, Jay's life might have turned out quite different if the producer hadn't decided to audition just one more host. Sadly for Jay, that host was Alex Trebek. And the rest of the story is game show history. But lucky for us Arizonans, in 2014, he sort of settled down when he ran and was elected to the Arizona House of Representatives in 23rd Legislative District. Jay is a U.S. Air Force veteran and a member of the Scottsdale American Legion. He supports national and local law enforcement agencies and the Law Enforcement's Memorial Fund. It is my pleasure to introduce Representative, and our lucky day for him to have settled down here in Arizona, Ms. Representative Jay Lawrence.
Bluetooth connected.
Thank you. First of all, let me thank Clyde Bowen, Reverend Bowen, for inviting me for another year here. Next, I am an Air Force veteran.
Disconnected. Bluetooth pairing.
You like it? Good. I am an Air Force veteran, but I was never in Vietnam. However, my wife, let me introduce my wife, Judy, who was in Vietnam with the USO right after the Tet events, and Judy is the hero. Another hero is Walt Blackman. Representative Blackman is a real war hero, and it is my honor to serve with him in the legislature. We did some things in the legislature this past week. Rather than talk about Abraham, you've heard quite a bit about Abraham Lincoln, and if you want to hear more, Senator David Farnsworth would know the entire history of Lincoln, of our Constitution. He is a constitutional expert, and it's a pleasure to see him here today. Last week in the legislature we did, where is Mr. Cooper? There he is, who will be a guest on my radio program this coming Sunday night. And wears that uniform proudly, and the other uniforms that he has. And he shows up at these events, and it's a beautiful recreation of our history. Thank you. Last week, we had an amazing week in the legislature. We did a couple things that I think are heroic. And Walt Blackman was part of those things that we did. There were the other party that were introducing a bill that would say a doctor need not try to save the life of a baby born in an abortion. No longer would doctors be able to save the life of that baby lying on the table, rather let it die. That was the legislation that they wanted. We stopped anything like that. We voted for life, and we will continue in our legislature. Let me introduce one more person. You've seen him a lot today. He was the first person to endorse me when I ran for office 5 years ago. Dr. C.T. Wright was the first person to endorse me and has since then, and I thank him. I have done one bill of which, well, a number of bills, but one I'm very proud of as a veteran. The suicide rate among veterans in our country is ridiculous, and the suicide rate in the state of Arizona is absurd. I have created a bill along with our Ledge Council that will address the suicides of our veterans, and I want it will be an important bill. Department of Health Services went along with it, made some changes to it, and we will at least now be getting the causes of these deaths of our heroes, the men and women who have served our country, and we will have a record and be able to see if there is a commonality of any kind to their deaths, and then be able to serve and be able to find those men and women, seek them out, and be able to treat them. Aside from that, I want you all, when you go home tonight, to look in the mirror at your backside and know that these chairs will leave their mark on you. When you look in the mirror, you'll know the reason for it. Thank you all very much. I'm proud to be here. Thank you.